Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the First Pencil with Kathy and Mike. My name is Mike the Car Guy, and I just am realizing that we never really say what day it is. We always mention that we record on a Thursday, but for in case anybody is wondering, today is July 27th, 2023. I am here with my best bud, wicked awesome car gal, and friend to horses everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Horses like in Spain, horses in Ecuador, horses in Antarctica. Kathy loves. Kathy Cruz, how are you today?
Horses, wild horses that are being rounded up by the Bureau of Land Management right now in 120-degree
That
heat.
is heartbreaking.
Yeah,
Heartbreaking.
yeah, all tax dollars being spent on that, chasing wild horses with helicopters.
Also, some ranchers can let their cattle graze on public land for free.
That's right. Yep. So it's public land. It's ours, not theirs. So yeah, it's really hard. It's hard right now. But yeah, and going out to the ranch is like stepping on the surface of the sun, honestly, there right now. But the horses are doing good. They're doing good.
They've got covering, right? You have,
Oh yes.
areas where they're in the shade.
Yeah, yeah. A typical like a stall or what's called a paddock, which is a little bit bigger than a stall, or maybe double the size or larger. Usually you have a shelter that has a little area for them to stand, and you put these really super thick rubber mats in there. So, and usually that's where they eat. Um, and then um, and then we hose them down pretty regular, pretty much daily for sure daily. Just not we have 17 horses, so not everybody daily, but um, and then some, and they also need to be turned out, which means exercised a little bit. And there's some that we do every day. So Ulysses can't get his, when horses have domestic horses have their hooves trimmed every 6 weeks, and but Ulysses has a neurological issue, so he can't stand on three legs to have that done, and so he has to go and get turned out every day so that his hooves get worn down. Otherwise, he'd be not be able to walk, because horses, they're like fingernails. Their hooves are like fingernails. They grow. So anyway, but that's a little behind the scenes at a horse rescue ranch, or any really ranch, I think.
Horse knowledge.
Yes.
We're educating people.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. We like that.
We've been educating people in many areas for many years, trying to share a lot of things that work, share things that don't work. It's equally important to know what isn't working so you don't make that mistake, right? Learn from somebody else's mistake. Someone much wiser than me always said, if you want to do something well, find someone else that's already doing it well and just replicate it. Like walking behind someone on a beach on the wet sand, just step in their footprints.
Yeah.
Don't make mistakes and learn from them. If somebody already has made those mistakes, learn from their mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is why I follow you, because you were already doing great things when I connected with you. So it helped me ramp up to try to catch up with you a lot faster.
And believe me, I made a lot of mistakes and still do,
As
uh,
do I.
yeah. And it's really not failure. I've always looked at, it's taken a while to look at it this way, but success is not a straight line. It's a very curvy, go backwards sometimes line, and
Like the
failure.
flight of a bumblebee, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Many failures. But I don't, you can tell yourself it's a failure, but it's really just a blip in the road to something better. Teaches you
And
a lot.
sometimes it can get you closer to a success
Yes.
when you really open up and look at it truthfully. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a roadblock. It can be a stepping stone to get you closer to where you want to be.
Yep. Yep.
And like I said, I've followed you for a long time, and I read your blog, I read your posts, and sometimes you go back over something and you see something in a different way, or something you maybe skipped over before. Or, it's not that I didn't consume it, completely the first time I read it. It's just like now you may be in a different place, so you see things differently. Case in point, you had a post this morning about social selling, and I know I've read it before, but something drove me to click it. And as I'm scrolling through it, I saw an image that just kind of stopped me in my tracks. I know I've seen it before, but today it resonated with me. And he's talking about social selling, and you have the image of one of my favorite scenes in history from Glenn Ross, Alec Baldwin standing in front of the chalkboard, right? ABC, always be closing. I mean, I know that movie line by line better than most, only because I lived it. I've shared with you many times. You've been there. I mean, people that aren't in automotive always saying, "Oh, you're just exaggerating because it's funny, Mike." No, fuck that. I am saying that Alec Baldwin encapsulated the nicest part of some of the sales managers that led my sales meetings
Yeah.
when I was young. And if you took him and it just exaggerated him, you still wouldn't be able to get a real understanding of the meetings that I sat through. That's the nicest version of some of these guys. Anyways, I digress. You took and went from always said long before you do this, always be closing, and you made it always be connecting. And that just, it clicked. And that's essentially a summary of social selling. It's just always be connecting,
Mhm.
connect with people. They don't, you stop calling them customers, right? Potential customers. Everyone is a potential customer. So let's just call them what they are, people.
Mhm.
If you're connecting with people, and you have a relationship with them, when they need what you're selling, they already know who to go see. You can't control when a customer is going to buy a car. I used to think that in my head every time a sales manager or a GM would come by and say, what do you, we need car deals right now, send an email blast, or put a post on Facebook. That's not necessarily going to make a car deal happen, because we don't know where the person's at in their cycle. Maybe if someone's just starting to think about at the end of the year they need to replace their car because it's got 100,000 miles on it. Maybe their wife just said, "Hey, I'm pregnant," and their two-door coupe now or their pickup truck isn't going to work for them. So in the next 6 months, they need to think about if it. We don't know. We don't know if the guy's engine blew up this morning and he needs a car today. We can't guarantee when a customer is going to buy. All we can hope for is that when they are ready, they come to us.
Mhm.
And that's what I think social selling is, the part that a lot of higher ups and executive management people and dealerships are not making that connection with. They're wanting it to be an immediate, if I'm going to let you go out and put yourself on Facebook, you're going to sell a car this weekend.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. The Early on when I got into the use of social media for whatever, for business, right? And I would go to dealerships and because I was be doing some training or whatever I was doing, and I would talk to the people on the floor, and they'd be like, "I can't wait for somebody to come in the door. I'm not going to make money doing that." And as a dealer or the person that pays for the marketing for a dealership, they're going to think that they're going to think, "Oh, I'm going to just put a budget out and I'm going to advertise and market, and that's how we're going to get customers," which is a great thing. Okay. But as a salesperson, um, if you want to like beat out the next guy or gal, uh, I was always somebody that was great, but I wanted to do more. I wanted to like, how can I sell more? How can I do more? And so that's when I realized that you can, all of that's well and good about the advertising and marketing, but you can by connecting with people and letting them know who you are and listening to what social media is great for. Is when I say listening, you get to see, because they share stuff about their life, you get to see what's going on. And sometimes they need a car, sometimes a friend needs a car, and you don't get that from the marketing and advertising level. That's you yourself, that's how you're going to be able to develop your own leads and generate some income for yourself without waiting for somebody to come in the door, basically. And everybody's got their own level of motivation, right? But I just never wanted to just be somebody that would let like somebody control my destiny. I wanted to have all of the opportunity that I could do for myself. And why wouldn't I use social for that? So,
But it's important also to keep a perspective, going onto social. it's easy to want to appeal to everyone and be, on every platform, and be funny and be this and be that, and it it can spread you too thin really easily. You
Yeah.
can find you're spending 8 hours a day just trying to put out all these content things, and it just doing that itself may not generate you the deals that you want.
Hmm.
So it's important to, like you said, keep the end in mind. What are you trying to accomplish?
Hmm.
What's your goal?
Yeah.
And focus on that. You're not going to be everything to everyone. You're not going to sell cars to everyone, right? And that's a common theme in car business. How
Yeah.
many GMs have said, I want to get all the leads from California.
Hmm.
You know, I had a very long conversation with the GM just the other day about how, and it's related. So bear with me. Google business profiles, right?
Yeah.
He wanted every city in California listed, and I kept trying to tell him, look, Google's not stupid,
No.
okay? If a person is in Palmdale and they're searching for a new Ford, they're not going to see your dealership in Riverside. It's
No.
just not going to happen. It's not going to show up in that first three that come up in the map. It's not going to show up on page 3. It's not going to show up on page 6.
Mm-mm.
And there's no value for you to show up in Palmdale or in Simi Valley or Temecula, or you haven't dominated your own PMA yet. Within 10 miles of your store, if you're doing like 60% of all Ford sales, then let's go outside. Yeah, because
Mhm.
you've rocked it. But I guarantee you're not. I don't even have to see your penetration report. I can promise you're not even close to that. So why are you so concerned about all these things? Take a page from Google's book. There's a reason, they've perfected it. There's a reason they'll only show a customer what's in their area. Local search is called local search because it's local.
Yeah.
So when you're on social media, don't try to appeal to everyone and take like a fire hose. Be yourself, develop a following, and there are people that aren't going to like your message. Okay. And those people will buy cars and not from you. Okay, you got to be willing to be okay with that.
I
You
think
can't
it
see
comes
that as
from
a lost opportunity because it was never an opportunity in the first place,
no,
really.
it comes from a mindset of spraying and praying,
Right.
spraying and pray, spray and pray, spray and pray. And it doesn't work. It never really has worked. Maybe it worked maybe in the 60s or 70s, maybe, but because there were only a finite amount of channels. And, if you were watching something on Channel 5 here, KTLA, and in Los Angeles area, and you would see Cal Worthington come up. I mean, everybody knew because that's where everyone tuned in.
Yep.
But not anymore. You can't.
Cal Worthington or Pete Ellis. Those were the
Pete
two.
Ellis Dodge, yes.
Long Beach Freeway,
Yes,
Firestone
Firestone
exit
Active.
south.
That's
Okay.
it.
Those were the two that you were going to see
That's what you're saying.
primarily.
Yep. That was fine, but we don't live in that era. And if
Right.
you simply don't have, or should you spend that amount of budget to reach that many people, thinking that, oh, I'll just let me market to Palmdale, because Palmdale, I guarantee there's 25 Ford stores between Riverside and Palmdale, probably more. I'm just probably being conservative, but
And for those that aren't familiar with California, California is a very large area mass wise, but it's highly populated. So it's not like you get to the edge of town. Like in Colorado, the edge of town is the edge of town. you know, when you hit the edge of Glenwood Springs, all you're seeing is trees along the road until the next city pops up 5 or 6 miles down the road. That simply is not how California is. There is no border. There's no separation between cities, towns. It's all one big giant city,
yeah.
highly populated with businesses, people, and car dealerships.
Yeah.
So a dealership that's 60 miles from another city, it's not like there's nothing between the two, and you can talk a customer into driving 60 miles to come to your dealership. Like you said, there's probably 25 other Ford dealerships that they're going to see along the highway on the way to your store. And the only way to guarantee that you're going to get that customer is with some ridiculous deal
Yeah.
that doesn't present a value to the store, because you're not building long-term business. You're
Mhm.
not going to get that guy to come to your store for service and all these things. And if he does refer a friend, what's he going to be referring the friend for? That same type of deal,
Yes.
right? Oh, I got $10,000 off of this product. You got to go way over to there. Trust me, it'll be worth going.
Mm.
That's not how Galpin brings people from out of their
No,
area.
that's
They
not.
bring
That's not
them
correct.
with an insanely wonderful customer experience,
Mhm.
and that's how they've grown to become the number one Ford store out there.
Yeah. Yes, because it is at the end of the day an experience too. If you got like an awesome experience, I'd imagine if you, I don't know, in some odd scenario, you could get a customer, but they're never going to come back for service just because it's too far. So, uh, and yeah, yeah, I should say too that between Riverside and Palmdale, Galpin is one of those that's in between. So
Probably
they're going to
chances
get the
are you're going to
business
stop
before you
into
are.
there. I actually heard a friend of ours went through a car buying experience, and she really kind of summed it up interestingly for me. She said, Mike, I got to tell you, as a mother of four, buying a car is almost like having a kid. The longer you go, like my youngest is 11, and no matter how much I think back to having her, I can't remember how painful it was because I can't reimagine that pain. All I know is the joy that I've had with her for 11 years.
Mhm.
And it was kind of like that in buying a car. I couldn't, I knew it was not fun the last time I went to a dealership, but I didn't remember how much I hated it
Mhm.
until I was in a dealership. She goes, don't get me wrong, I love my car. I love driving it, the smell of it, all these things that you say, and figuring out all the features and the gadgets, and I'm just having a blast with it. But now it's been 3 weeks, and I'm focused on the blast that I'm having with the car, and I've kind of forgotten how horrible it was. But don't get me wrong, it was the worst experience of my life.
Oh my
It
God.
was painful.
Mm.
And it just kind of, I was like, it is. I mean, I can't necessarily relate to the childbirth, but I get the analogy,
Yeah,
you know, that if we all remembered just how horrible it was, we wouldn't want to do it again.
that's right.
But as time goes by, it diminishes and you enjoy the car. So that's what, I need a new car. I want a new car. I want to experience that again. So you're willing to put yourself through it. And but while you're in it, you're like, what the fuck did I do?
And as an
Why
operator,
am I
why would you on purpose want to treat people like that where they have the worst experience of their life? Why in the world would you do that? Because at the end of the day, you sell the vehicle, but the way you're going to make money is they have to come back for service. Okay. That's how you're going to make money. And if they already have that distaste for you, they're going to do everything in their power, at least I would, to find someplace, some other solution. I wouldn't want to go back if I had a quote unquote worst experience of my life. I don't get why. I mean, I just don't, it's either mismanagement or just on purpose, but I don't understand why you'd want to treat a customer that way. It just doesn't, it's a very short-sighted way of looking at business. And it never occurred to me to even think like that. I don't know. So,
and what's concerning for me right now is obviously I'm very happy that a lot of focus is now being shifted to fixed stops for dealerships. They're realizing, not every one of them, but a lot of dealers are realizing that's really where we need to improve the
yeah.
most to ensure that we continue, the long-term cycle with these
And keep
customers.
market share because it is very competitive and there's a lot of threats to it.
But I think dealers still in mass are looking at ABC Motors across town as their competition, and that's keeping the bar kind of low
Mhm.
because dealership service departments in mass aren't known for great customer experience, speedy customer experience. I keep bringing, the example of going through one of the quick service stations that's here, about 10 miles from my house,
Mhm.
and literally sitting in my car,
Yeah.
pull up, over the pit. The advisor comes over, scans the VIN, touchless,
Yeah.
brings up a screen that's right in front of my car. I can clearly see everything that's happening. The mechanic or the technician that's going around the car is calling things out. It's almost like being in a stock car, NASCAR type pits, They're calling out the air pressure from the tires, the brake pad, thickness, and this person's putting it all on the screen, making recommendations in front of me with me seeing it. So that's transparent to me. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes. I know it's right there. They're recommending this because it's this. It's visual, And then he texts me a link. I go in on my phone. I pay it with the card, and touchless, in and out, 20 minutes. I needed to get into a dealership because I have a recall. It's not something I can do at a quick service station, right? Go online to the dealership I'd like to go with. Their soonest appointment on their scheduler is 3 weeks from now.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Come
You know,
on.
I understand they're shorthanded with technicians. I understand all that, but that's not as the consumer's fault or problem, but it becomes my problem now. I got to wait 3 weeks. Call a friend of mine that, knows the service manager over there. Any way I can get this in on just a waiter pull in? No. Dude, if you pull in,
Wow.
you're going to sit here all day. We're shorthanded. I know it's just a flash update the ECM, but I don't have the ability to get you in and out. It's just going to be, you want to leave it for 2 days, you can. And I'm all,
Oh
wow,
my God.
okay. That's the danger, though. If you're not looking at the reality of your competition and the world of the customers that we are working with, and you're just looking across town at the dealership there and using them as a standard, then you're looking at it wrong.
That is honestly, that is just suicide to have that to be. Being shorthanded is great. I know. I understand. That's a good, very good, valid reason to be backed up. But uh, anybody that's done any studies or been around the business for long enough knows that when you tell a customer there's a 3 week wait, that is imprinted in their brain, and they'll probably go somewhere else for the rest of their life. It's not my opinion. That's data, and I don't even understand that. I don't even. Yeah, I don't. I mean, you pull in, get an apprentice that's hourly and teach them how to do the recall, and just have like a recall, stall that just everybody, uh, one or two service bays and dedicated to just the recalls if you've got too many recalls or whatever the issue is. But if you can't find text, and I get it, it's hard, but you've got to have a process. Otherwise you're going to be, oh my God, that's
I,
crazy.
I knew you'd like that.
Oh, Lord. Oh, I'm putting my hands over my mouth right now. So I don't even
And I
know.
think what's so frustrating is you and I share, I think, I'm not going to speak for you per se, but I know just from knowing you so well for so many years, we share such a passion for this industry and we just want it to be better.
Yep.
We know it can be, right? We know it can be so amazing. And
Yep.
there's some people out there that are just freaking wonderful and you love being around them. And I'm sure dealerships that have got it right and are amazing. And we want the entire industry to be lifted up to that level. I used to say when I was working in a dealership, I used to say, I'm making the car business a better place one deal at a time. Well, it didn't have the bigger effect. The industry still needs help. It still needs, a lot of attention because it can be so awesome. Cars are fun. Everyone loves new cars. I mean, everything about cars is fun. That's what keeps our industry moving forward. Everybody wants a new car. Why not make the rest of it fun? Owning a
Okay,
car
so
should be fun.
just to circle back for a minute to let's say the salesperson, could be a service advisor as well, but a salesperson, and the social selling aspect of it. In my travels, I can tell you the change is just it's not moving fast enough. You'd think that a pandemic would have done something, but it made it even worse, honestly, of this adaptation to digital means of selling. And so you've got to take it in your own hands, and you've got to distinguish yourself. What do you bring to the table? What is the value? What do you do yourself? What is unique about the information that you have, where people are just going to go, you got to talk to this guy, he's the best. And I want to share a quick story that just happened to me, because the way that you do that is by having a thoughtful content, a thoughtful process for content. And
Right.
I talk about it like it's very structured, but because I'm a structure, I like structure. I like processes. That's what I like. But if you're just one person, you don't have to be that structured. But thinking about it and having a plan is very good. And so the quick story about I'm on the HOA board, and we are doing a large project in my complex, and a couple of them, but asphalt is one of them, asphalt repair. And our property manager is a doofus, and he's not really qualified to manage a project like this. And so he is yesterday sending a bunch of emails and things, and he'd already, before we'd even discussed the company, because we usually go out to bid, and the company it's asphalt repair and seal, so it's about 50 grand, maybe more. And so he had jumped the gun and jumped over all of the things that are supposed to be done, and had some company send a contract to another gal on the board, and it was for $80,000, which is
Nice.
and I don't know where this company came from. It's like, what do you do? What's happening? And so last night, we usually communicate the board members via email, but I said, you guys, it's too much to email. Let's do a conference call real quick, because I need to vent a little bit. So I can't do it on email. And so we talked about it, and we came to the conclusion that we want to go out to bid. And so another person that's on the board said, he emailed this morning, said, I've got, I think he sent 4 or 5 different companies that we could collect bids on. I'm like, awesome. He goes, but you got to check this one out. And so he sends me to, it's a property management company here in Orange County. And they have this awesome content. I mean, I was blown away by their content. It's a property management company, and they were interviewing a guy from an asphalt company, and it was a 26-minute video about everything that you need to know as a property manager and or HOA member, board member, or even member, just homeowner, that wants to know about asphalt. And it's on their website, and it's on YouTube, and I'm like, oh my god, what this is. It made me so happy, because content is how you get there. It reminds me of the long days long ago at blog world in like 2010. And Marcus Sheridan, if you remember him, he's the sales lion, but he's wrote a great book called They Ask You Answer. And he was all about content and having that drive SEO, but also help your customers buy. And he had this like huge, like 200-page book that he would give every customer they would talk to. He owned a pool company, and he got in trouble during the recession. That's how he ended up doing what he's doing. He got in trouble financially. And so he figured out a way to use content to create business. And so here we are in 2023, and this awesome company
Is doing it.
oh my God, they're doing it. Like,
And it had that effect,
oh my
right?
God. It was
This is
exactly what I
we
needed to see.
share with other people,
Yes.
how you want their customers to feel, but now you're actually feeling it. You're like, this is exactly the information I needed to help me make the best decision for me. And once I make this decision, I'm going to be doing it with these folks because they gave me this information.
Yeah. I'm going to trust them more. I want the property manager guy. I don't trust him. And I don't trust his vendors. I'm sorry to say, he hasn't built any trust with me. And in fact, he's done the opposite. So I want this project we're doing is the contractor, the head contractor that's doing the building work is awesome. He's someone I trust. He knows this property. He's from the area. He is just someone I trust. And so I wanted to see if he knew an asphalt dude, right? Because it's all about relationships and connecting. And that was, so last night I said, let's see if Don knows somebody that is an asphalt. Maybe he's got a subcontractor or something. So, but now we have, I can do that, and I will, but we can, take a look at this other company and by the way, the management company as well, because we need a new manager.
There you go.
So
It
it's tough
simply
changing
works.
managers. So you have to do it. And we're doing this big project, so it's tough. Anytime it's tough changing managers, right? It's a obstacle to train. It's a training. There's a learning curve with all of that. So we have to do the timing right. But anyway, so I just wanted to share that I was just absolutely blown away, and that it really does work. It really does work.
Right. It's not advice, it's data off of proven situations. It's proven itself. So sharing that isn't like you should do this because it might do that. No, it will do this.
Yeah.
The returns will be measurable. They will be connectable. You can connect those dots.
And dude, the easiest thing, I'm telling you, the easiest go-to for a car salesperson is a testimonial, a video testimonial. Start with 3 or 4 questions. And if you want those actual questions, I have actually written those and used them at clients. Happy to share with anybody that just email me or reach out some way. But ask the questions. There's 3 or 4 questions you ask the person. So it makes it easier for you. And also the person is not sitting there going, what do I say? I want to say something cool about you. And sometimes they just don't usually, we just don't typically know what to say. And so if you ask a person a leading question, then they get inspired to say what they really want. And it's super helpful. And video testimonials, I mean, I've been talking about it for how long, and you just don't see it very often. And that would differentiate you, I can tell you right now.
That's instead of putting a delivery picture up with the person smiling next to their car, how did they get there? What was the deciding factor for them to do business with you and the dealership you work at? And how many times have you heard, well, I don't like to be on camera? Okay, well, maybe you should get out of sales. But then you don't have to be on camera. Stand behind the camera and ask them, hey,
That's
folks, I'm here with Mr. Jones taking delivery of their brand new, whatever. Hey, Mr. Jones, what was your favorite part of this experience? Hey, Mr. Jones, what was it that helped you decide that this was the best place to do business? Whatever. And again, you've got some questions. And all that stuff is part of the stuff that you could get if you subscribe to Kathy's newsletter. Just throwing that out there. If you're smart, if you're in sales, I'm telling you from personal experience, 12, 13 years ago, I started following Kathy. Subscribe to her newsletter, man. I'm telling
it's
you.
free. It's free.
It's free. But there's 100 ways you could go about it,
Yes.
and you could get, yes, not every one of your customers is going to want to, oh, I don't want to be on camera. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I promise you, none of them are going to want to be on camera when you don't ask, right? The answer is always no when you don't ask the question. If you ask every one of your customers, you're going to get 2 or 3 that go, yeah, totally.
Yep. Yeah.
You
make
want
it short.
You want to up the odds? Tell them, hey, folks, you want to make a TikTok video?
Right. Exactly.
But it doesn't have to be relegated to just TikTok. You can spread it out across every platform.
Put it on Instagram and Facebook. Definitely.
You can get tons of life out of it. You can recycle and reuse it in multitudes of different ways. That's the beautiful thing about social, right? Is there isn't just one post you put out there and that's it. You go back to it, you rephrase it, you rework it, you get lots of life out of it. You share it other places, you expand on it, compress it. There's 100 things you can do with it to keep it continuing to serve its purpose.
Yeah. And just as a logistical, I can tell you that short form video, when they say short form, it's usually like a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes, maybe. And that's all you really need for a video testimonial. And I can tell you that on Facebook and Instagram. So right now, when you upload a video to Facebook, it will ask you, do you want to make a reel? And
right.
And so I just do that. I do that for Honolulu. I do a post and a reel, and always the reel gets literally 5 times more engagement. And Instagram, same thing. You've got such an opportunity to do that if you do a video and you share it, and it's the only investment is your time. There is free. That's a free way to get yourself noticed.
I was going to say it once again. The proof is in the data. You've shared with us over the past months the insane views that you're getting with video posted into Facebook, not posted to YouTube and then the link, because obviously Facebook wants to keep you in their platform. So post the video into Facebook, you make a reel out of it. The numbers, if you go back to some of our earlier episodes, the numbers are staggering. Yeah. Up in the hundreds of thousands, million views, and for someone in sales, obviously, if you got 1 million views on this video, did it sell a lot of cars? That dot may be difficult to connect, but I promise you, if you're doing something that's getting 100,000 views, million views, some of those people that are viewing it will turn into your customers.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind, you're not trying to make a million car sales. You're
Mm-mm.
trying to make an additional 5 to 7 this month.
Mm-hmm.
Next month, maybe 7 to 12. You know, you whatever you're at. If you're selling 12 cars a month, done right, next month you can sell 15 and then 18, and then you can be 30 cars a month solid consistently with a little bit of effort.
Yeah. And each time somebody has a reaction to something you've done, that's a connection. And those build up. And it's getting rough to differentiate yourself or even to be seen on social platforms.
Everyone's trying to be a celebrity right now, right?
Yeah, and being a celebrity ain't going to bring you sales. I can tell you,
And
it's
if you look at those people, you can tell someone that's trying to be everything for everyone,
uh-huh.
and you can tell someone that's authentic. And again, not to keep harping on Tim, but look at our friend Tim Bart.
I know. Yep.
You want to find someone that's authentic and just out there to be of service and as much help as he possibly can,
Mm-hmm.
follow Tim Bart's.
Absolutely. He's at Long MacArthur
Long
Ford.
MacArthur Ford.
I think it's, you say Salina. It's Salina, Kansas, Salina, or it's maybe Selena. I'm not sure.
It's in the Midwest.
Yes. I'm a typical Californian. So, but he's awesome. He's got a huge following, all because he's placed himself as an expert on Fords. People go to him for information.
He is a voice of authority when it
Yes.
comes to all things Ford.
And he's a super
That
good
guy,
dude.
and he's willing to share it. You know, his first reaction isn't, "Are you going to buy a car for me?
No.
If I could, would you? Is it going to help me sell a car today?" If you say, you know, I'm looking at the Explorer XLT 41A package and the 41B, and I'm not sure, he will go into like a complete breakdown of both, whether or not it sells him a car today or not, because that's his interest. He likes sharing that information and he wants to help you make the best decision for you. And it comes across. He is true. He's just sincerely a nice guy. When I get ready to buy another Ford, because I got my Bronco right now, and once the GMC gets to its end of life, I'm probably going to go back to another Ford. So I have two in the family. I plan on buying from Tim, not just because we're friends, but because he knows his shiz, you know?
Yeah. And he deserves the business, honestly. And you guys, he's got a podcast. He's got a very large YouTube channel for Long MacArthur. For a car dealership, I think it must be probably the largest subscriber numbers.
It's the biggest one I've seen, and that's what makes it so unreal. Is it's a
over
car
50,000. All right.
It's not necessarily, he's not a celebrity. It's not entertainment. It's a lot of factual information. Does he make it fun? Yes, but it's not something you sit and just watch. If you're not, if I'm not interested in a Ford Bronco, I'm not going to find his channel and just watch his videos. You know what I mean? Yeah. These are people that are interested in the information he's giving, and he's gained a following.
Yeah. He's up to 60,400 subscribers.
That's insane.
That's crazy. And all from giving helpful content, constantly being there to help. And that's what I try to do. That's what you try to do. We're just, that's my goal. And then hopefully business comes from it. You know, usually it has. I mean, that's the way it is. It's the way it works for me and for you too, Mike.
Like I said earlier, we both want the business to be better. And if we can help, we're willing to lend a hand.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is why we like to hear from people, especially in the business. You know, if you have a question, if you have a concern, if you'd like to share something, we really do say it sincerely. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, I follow this guy, Josh Spector, that talks about, because he's got a podcast and he has people come on and ask him questions. And I find that really an interesting approach. So if you want to ask a question and you want to come on the podcast, then, you know, hey, just reach out.
We're open for it.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will add, knowing, you know, if you want to come on the show, you got to understand that we always wrap up with something musical and fun. So you got to bring that to the table with you. Although today it's not as fun. There is a fun thing I wanted to mention, but to
Me too.
kind of back it down a little bit.
Mhm,
Yesterday we lost Sinead O'Connor,
mhm.
and I will share personally. I don't know what it was necessarily. I first saw her on David Letterman,
Yeah,
and she did the song Mandinka, which is my favorite tune from her. And I don't know if it's because it's the first thing I saw from her, or because some of her other songs were just so overplayed that I never thought Mandinka got enough airtime, because I just, even today, yesterday, I watched it again, and she just kicks so much ass, and it's so raw and so wonderful and so amazing. Yes, a lot of controversy surrounded her entire life, but always underneath all that, she was an incredible fucking artist. So,
yeah,
I will never apologize for being a huge fan of her music and her artistry. And quite frankly, I agree with a lot of the stances she took. So, I support that.
agree.
But it was kind of a bummer to lose her.
Yes, lots of interaction yesterday on Twitter around it, and that's where you and I hear almost every sort of breaking news. And she has done a lot of things with Shane MacGowan from the Pogues, and somebody there they were talking about how she at Shane's 60th birthday in 2018, she sang a Pogue song, and it's a great video on YouTube. It's really good. It's called You're the One, and she just comes out and sings like a cappella. And so I was looking for the video so I could share it. And in the comments on YouTube, I always look at the comments. I love to hear what people say, especially around the like music stuff. And someone said, she sings from the inside and never cheats a single note. Her spirit transcends all that is common, small, and mean.
Wow. Wow. That
Could
actually
there
is
be anything better than that about
perfect.
someone to
No.
say it about you? Yeah, yeah, it's super sad. And she's had her son committed suicide when he was 17. It's just, I think, 2020. um just super sad. She just had a very challenging life, and they don't
But
know
left us
why
with
she
some
died.
amazing and impactful stuff. With all
Yeah,
the challenges she was going through, she left us with some amazing stuff
yeah, yeah,
that will always help lift lots of people.
yeah. And if there's one consensus I can say from just being on Twitter yesterday when all the news came out, is that eventually, almost all day, people were saying, if you look back, Sinead was right. She's right about everything. And it's very true. Yeah. Um,
Seems to be a common theme in the last couple of years of influential and well-known females being right about a lot of things. So one quick thing before I wrap up my
I
stuff.
know, I got to say one thing too. Go ahead.
You and I have shared, or you have shared, I'll be honest, dozens of great podcasts, great
Oh, yeah.
shows, great documentaries. I've seen a couple, and I'm the first to admit I don't know how you do it. I don't know how people find time to binge watch these shows and listen to these things. It's sometimes overwhelming with just life.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I finally said, you know what, the one you mentioned to me was interesting. Not that they all aren't. I mean, I've got a
Yeah.
watch list. All the streaming services, have lists of things that I just haven't got to watch yet, but they're all there. I promise you, all of them are important to me. But this particular one, I said, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to make time in my day, and I carved out time to listen to Just Jack and Will. It's a podcast with the actors that played Jack McFarlane and Will. What was Will's last name on the show? I can't remember now.
Truman.
Truman and Grace Adler. Um, but
From Will and
there,
Grace, in case anyone doesn't know.
Will and Grace, the show that ran for 8 magical, wonderful seasons, one of my favorite things I've ever seen on anything. I just absolutely adored that show, and they started a podcast where they are going to kind of dissect and go through each of the episodes,
Mhm.
starting with episode one, the pilot. And 10 minutes in, I got to tell you, I was absolutely hooked. I have found my new passion in life to go through every one of these episodes with the two of them. And they'll have all the other people on there, but the two of them, just to hear them interact again is, first of all, magic. But to hear their insights on the little things that maybe we took for granted, or maybe, we didn't catch the first time around, or the second time, or the 20th time. There's so much to it that I personally, honestly, I always second your recommendations because I trust you and your vision. And if you say it's good, that means it's good in my book. But this one, I will agree for sure, because I know for personal, I will add my recommendation that if you like that show, you gotta listen
You
to
gotta listen. You do. Yeah.
just Jack and Will. It's worth it. Promise. It's worth it.
They talk about how they came to have the show, and they were just very struggling actors. And my good friend Bruce Alden, you're been a friend for a very long time. He worked on the show. He was a producer. He first started, I think, as an associate producer, but eventually became they have names for them, but he made his way to, he wasn't an executive producer. I think he was a consulting producer. I can't remember, but his basic job was to just put the show together, and make sure that it just ran well, and there was a flow, and the technical side of that, all of that. But he was with the show from the day it started to the day that the reboot, the last, ended. He's just, yeah. So I had a connection there, and we used to be able to go to some of the tapings, as well as there was a rap party, and
Super cool.
it was just
Super cool.
so. But I came to it because I listen to Smartless, which, if you are a podcast listener, Smartless with Sean Hayes, and then Jason Bateman and Will Arnett. It is, I can't even tell you. You will be laughing. Oh my God. The one with them interviewing Maya Rudolph last year, I'm telling you. Anyway, they are awesome. And so that's how I know they're kind of starting this media company like Smartless Media now. And so now, just Jack and Will. And the first episode, they do the pilot. They talk about the pilot, and then Max Muchnick, who is one of the co creators and writers. David Cohan is the other one. He's the first guest, and then the second guest is Jimmy Burrows, who was the director through all of them, that directed Cheers and Frasier and like all these. I think he did Frasier, but anyway, super. I mean, iconic, really, in the world of sitcom directing, TV directing. And then the third one, Deborah Messing. So you have a really good runway now of awesome content. And I know you listen to music a lot, which is great. I think it's, but this is very entertaining. So
I'm definitely going to be continuing on this path for sure.
yeah, it honestly will make you laugh. You will be laughing. I usually, it's one of the times I listen to podcasts when I'm walking. I walk in the morning in my neighborhood, and I'll be just walking by myself, and I'm just laughing. So there's one quick thing I wanted to say, in that I spend some time on YouTube as well. And sometimes you go down, the rabbit holes of things. And Emerson, Lake and Palmer from the 70s, they were a progressive rock band. They were very influential, and they had a different approach to rock and roll. And their album was called Brain Salad Surgery, and there is a song on there that's very iconic. The name of it is Carnival Number 9 Impression 2, which sounds really bizarre. But what I wanted to share is that there was a composer, that there's people, I'm sure if you're on YouTube and you follow any music, there are people that aren't familiar with the music, and they'll actually make a video of themselves listening to that music and then have feedback, right? And there's a composer guy that does it with ELP. And then there's this this awesome black dude that's just so into them. And it just made me happy, because I know that, and that's just to say two of them, but it made me so happy to know that because Greg Lake, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. So Keith Emerson committed suicide in early 2016, and poor Greg Lake, got pancreatic cancer and died very quickly in the same year. I think he died in early December of 2016. So there's Carl Palmer's left. He was the drummer, but I think it would be so they would be so thrilled to know that this super like talented, amazing composer guy would listen and have such an amazing take on their music, as well as from another kind of different spectrum, this great Black guy that's just like, listen to this. I mean, come on. And so I just find that fascinating. And
I saw something similar with a lady that is a classical music artist and composer and conductor kind of person, and she did one of those first listens. And the reason I only tuned into it because it was with a band called Rush, that one of my all-time favorites. But to hear her first take on it, and then to kind of dissect the different strengths of it, and to see her viscerally, to like blown away at the talent, because she was not expecting. She's like, oh, it's rock and roll. And she was like, oh my god. She would literally back it up and play it again and say, do you hear that? I don't know if you understand what's happening here. She would like go into these breakdowns of the complexities of some of these pieces. So yeah, if it's like that, then that's cool to see.
Very cool.
Brought into something that you already knew was cool, and to watch their expressions. The
same Black dude, he was listening to a band from the 60s called the Seekers, and they had a song called Georgie Girl. Do you remember? Hey there, Georgie Girl.
Oh yeah,
right. I mean, I remember that song. It might even be on a commercial, but anyway. And they had a couple other, and they were from Australia, and they were just super talented people, more folksy, but harmonized. And so here's this guy, he's listening to them, he started crying. He's like, we don't have this today. Listen to the harmony. Listen to what's going on here. And I'm like, this is so awesome.
That's cool.
It's just great that it can, that's what music does. It transcends. It doesn't matter when it's from. It can, like in 2023, the fact that someone can listen to Emerson, Lake and Palmer's music and come away with that feeling, that's
an appreciation. Yes.
That is something that is, it's forever, right? It's forever. So anyway,
awesome.
That's my take.
Well, what a fantastic way to wrap. That's awesome. Thank you so much for listening in, everyone. If you made it this far, gosh darn, we appreciate it. And like I said earlier, we want to hear from you.
Yeah, we do. We want to, if you feel comfortable coming on the podcast, awesome. If you don't,
hells to the yeah.
But we'd love to. I could even see where if you reached out and had questions but didn't want to come on the podcast, if you want to send me like 3 or 4 questions that you want us to answer, certainly I would. We'd say who it came from, because it's good to get your name out there, right? If you're
right, we're here to help give you some exposure, increase your customer base.
Yeah. It only gets better for everybody. Yeah. So please do. And then, yes, I'll put a link to my newsletter, because I just, I think I was doing a blog for a long time, and I just feel better doing a newsletter, which basically has me writing, but also me sharing content from other people that I think is important or fun or funny or whatever. And I feel like I can deliver more value that way. And it's always good. Sharing and connecting is always best.
And like I said earlier, I get a dozen or so emails a day because I've signed up for all of them, all the newsletters from all the people. But Kathy's, I love. I open it, I read it, get something out of it every time. And that's not just because you and I are on the show together. I'm not trying to kiss your ass. I'm just sharing that it's good shit. It is.
We have to keep the good shit close, and the bad shit we have to go
at bay.
At bay. That's right.
All right. Way to wrap.
Yeah. All right. So we will see you next week, and have a great week, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.
See ya.